Welcome back to the Grim and Glamorous podcast, and we are your hosts, LBG.
And this is Drea.
And for today's episode, we're going to be talking about UFOs and aliens, and also the space race, the new space race, SpaceX, Elon Musk. So we're just going to talk about the future and what that looks like. Remember, we used to watch Conan a lot, like the original Conan?
Yes,
and
in the year 2000?
Yes. In the year 2000. That was so funny.
It was funny. I was thinking about that the other day. This is weird.
Yeah, I loved that that segment. I love Conan. I mean, like, we've seen him a few times,
Conan
right?
O'Brien, if you're listening, please be on our podcast.
Oh, yeah, that would be a game changer.
That'd be
for sure.
like a dream come true.
Yeah, he's in LA, right?
Yes, he is in LA.
Yeah.
I heard they cut his show to like half hour.
Oh, well, I mean, at least he's still on.
Yeah.
He's been through a lot the past couple of years.
I know.
Yeah.
Poor Conan. Poor Coco.
We went to the first Tonight Show.
When he was on, when he was the first, when they changed it from Jay Leno to
Conan.
To him,
yeah.
We went to the very first one.
We went to that first taping for the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
The guest was Will Ferrell. And the musical guest was
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, Pearl Jam.
I remember.
But yeah, that was a good segment. And what was funny about that was that they would do it even after the year 2000 had passed.
Yeah.
So, like, it was like 2004. And he's like, we're still going to do this in the year 2000. And they make these funny predictions. So we're going to make some predictions of our own today and talk about what we see in 2020, maybe. It's almost there. We're getting there.
Isn't it sad, though, that, like, you look outside and there's no flying cars?
Yeah, I think even, like kids in the 50s and the 40s were like, oh, yeah, in the future there's going to be flying cars. Like, in the year 2000, maybe, for them. And they're like 50 years from now. And here we are.
They probably imagined, like, oh, wow, then in the 1990s we're going to have some, like, epic technology and all this stuff, and what did we end up with?
We do have some pretty cool stuff, though, now.
That's true. I mean, like, what a time to be alive, where you have, like, an iPhone or, like, you know, Bluetooth. Like, I know, like, people take stuff like that for granted, like Bluetooth. You know, like, that's pretty cool to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's funny, like, a couple weeks ago, getting the equipment together for, like, my computer, and, like, it's been a long time since I've really, like, upgraded a lot of stuff. And, yeah, I'm really impressed with just, like, what's available now from, like, televisions and, like, smart TVs.
I'm just shocked at the prices of TVs. They're so cheap.
Yeah, you can get a pretty decent TV, like, maybe not like the highest resolution possible, but like a pretty good like TV for a good price.
Yeah, like a decent television. I was like, we're at Best Buy, and I was like, why are they giving them away? They're so inexpensive.
Yeah. It's really pretty remarkable what's been available over the past couple of years. But we wanted to talk about UFOs and aliens. And I think an important distinction to make here is that when people say UFOs, I think a lot of people automatically think aliens.
Yeah.
But, the term UFO, or the acronym UFO, stands for unidentified flying object. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out, but it's also sort of, just descriptive. Like, you're seeing something, but you don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is, yeah.
So it could be anything. And, I think that's one thing that comes up a lot with skeptics when you often hear, like, weather balloon, or, a blimp, a plane, a military vehicle or something. And I think that's sort of, my take on it as well. Like, I think that's an important distinction to make, is that, the fact that you could be seeing something, and I think people do see things all the time and just don't know what they are. I think I know one person who's seen something and was like, yeah, I couldn't explain it. It moved very fast. It didn't move like a plane.
It's weird.
Yeah, but I haven't seen anything. I think, a few times I've seen, like, weird lights or something that I just really can't make out what it is. But I've never seen anything where I'm like, oh, yeah, that's totally an alien. But have an open mind about it. I don't discount that possibility. How about for yourself? Are you a skeptic or?
I think maybe like one time I saw something that, okay, you know how like a plane will have like a certain number of like, depending on the size of the plane, like it'll have, okay, for example, like on each wing, it'll probably have like at least like two lights or something like that. I think I saw something with like maybe like six. There's like six on one side, six on the other. And I was like, wait, that's not like an airplane because that's too many lights. Like there was just too many for like what it should be. And I was looking at it and I was like, I don't know what that is. So, I mean, it disappeared. Obviously, it was in the sky for a very like short period of time. But yeah, like I don't know what that was.
Southern California does have a lot of military bases. So we have an Air Force base northeast of here. And then to the south, we have in San Diego.
Oh, right.
There's a Marine Corps base there. I think that's an important thing to kind of take into consideration as well. The military has vehicles or planes that are either experimental or, traditional military vehicles that don't look like ordinary planes. But, if they're flying them, if they're testing them, and people see that, they can look up and say, hey, that's not normal, or that's not something I regularly see. I was listening to a radio show. You guys may be familiar with it, but it's called Coast to Coast with George Norrie. And they talk about all sorts of paranormal, scary stories, ghosts. And I was kind of just tuning in one day, and they were interviewing somebody from Southern California who's part of this group called MUFON. So it's short for Mutual UFO Network. And I kind of just wrote them off, and then they were talking about the fact that their headquarters were here in Southern California, in Newport Beach, and I was like, whoa, that's so crazy because that's not too far away from here. So I kind of looked them up. When I was looking on their website, there's this really interesting thing that they have. So I call it the Google Maps of UFOs because it's this really cool feature. So on their website, you can type in your address, your city, your state, and it'll pull up a map. And it's a global map, and it'll show reported incidents of UFO sightings in that area. And I thought, okay, that's cool, but there's probably going to be one or two things, maybe, in the county.
Right.
And when we checked it out, there were actually probably maybe 50, probably more, in our neighborhood and in our area. And I was really surprised. You can look up online and see okay, down the street, a couple blocks away, maybe in your neighborhood, that people have seen UFOs. So we thought that was a pretty cool thing that we came across, right?
Yeah, it was really neat because some of them were literally down the street from us. So that's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting to see how many people in our neighborhood have actually seen something. I don't remember if we checked other places famous things around famous places like Disneyland or I don't know, I'm trying to think of another one Knott's Berry Farm or something where there's a big group of people, or maybe Hollywood, maybe near the Hollywood sign or something like that. But yeah, it was pretty neat. Some of them had video, I think.
Yeah, a few of them did have some video clips. Some of them had photos. There were probably more photos than video clips. More than half just had a general description, probably a paragraph or two about what they saw, sort of describing the location and what it looked like. When we were looking at the map, we noticed that there's sort of descriptions and categories of things that are in the sky. And so there's a traditional saucer shape, but then there's also a triangle shape that people have described seeing. And I think that fits a lot of military vehicles, like bomber planes.
Yeah,
they're kind of shaped like that, like stealth bombers. So I think that's totally a possibility and probably very likely, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
them testing out some new stuff. Because, I mean, you know, the military gets new stuff every year, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's so interesting that there just like the amount of sightings that people have seen around here in particular. But yeah, I mean, we definitely recommend that if you've never checked it out, definitely give it a look. Yeah, we call it like the Google Maps of UFOs
Yeah.
because it's literally like a map. You can zoom in, you can zoom out of the local landscape. You know, you can type in your address, you can type in your city, and you can see different reports. And even if you're a skeptic, you know, give it a look because there are like there was one that we saw that we're like, okay, this is totally not real because there was one where somebody's like, I was on a cruise ship and I saw this like orb of light, and they posted a picture, and the picture's from inside the ship, but like in the reflection of the glass of the window glass is like the light from the ceiling, and we're like, clearly like that's what that was.
Yeah, that was not an alien.
But they were convinced. They were like, it wasn't moving, or it was moving strangely, and it was gone. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's what.
No, that wasn't.
And I was like, oh, like because it had a picture, and I'm like, oh, like let's check it out. Let's see what it looks like, and we're like, immediately like dismissed it. But you know, no. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, like do you think it's there's one that I hear that I think just as an argument is pretty convincing. People will say, well, considering how vast the universe is, you know, and we've really only explored, you know, our solar system. We've sent some satellites into deep space, but we really haven't seen everything. And, you know, the universe is infinite. So it's probably likely that there's something out there, maybe not like intelligent life like us, but, you know, probably some bacteria or microbes or maybe even something more complex, you know, out there deep into space. I think that's totally a sound argument and something I can get behind. I mean, especially when they talk about like microbes or something.
Yeah.
Like sure. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I love. You know, he's you know, a scientist, astrophysicist. I consider him somewhat of a skeptic, but he's not all about like aliens and he's like, oh, they're out there. He's like, right. Oh, like the bacteria and like he's like, that's what excites him. And I'm like, okay, like I see where you're coming from. But yeah, I think that's a very good argument to make, and that's one that I can get behind. How about for yourself? Like, do you think that's pretty convincing? Like the idea that, you know, it's so vast and like there's so much we haven't seen. Like there's other galaxies that are light years away. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like because space is like so big. And, like, we're never, ever, ever going to explore all of it. We're only going to be able to explore, like, you know, stuff that's close to us. I think that, like, people, like, finding things like that. I think you said, like, bacteria. And I think there's also, like, water? Isn't there water? Like, they found, like water on the moon or something like that? Or, like, on, like, another planet? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was the moon. Recently they found, like, evidence of like ice. Mars also had some water at one point.
Yeah, like I think that like finding that stuff, like I mean definitely maybe like one day they'll be able to like hold like, you know, human life, or maybe like there's just like another life out there. I mean, I don't know, like I said, I'm a skeptic, but maybe that there's like another life out there that we don't know about that can survive off of these things that, you know, are not like us, but, you know, something that would be able to survive out there, like in those kinds of conditions, like, you know, obviously without air, without like actual food, you know, there might be. Yeah. There might be.
I think that's a good point because, when you talk to scientists and astronomers, a lot of them, you know, one of their big things is that why it's so hard to find and to look for, life in space is that, if it looks like us, and you need oxygen to breathe, very few planets have those conditions, like air and water and temperatures that aren't too extreme. Like that narrows it down so much. I think there's like one or two possibilities like in our solar system. Like I think one of Saturn's moons is like kind of similar to us, but like not entirely. And then like other than that, it's like the weather, like the heat would be too much if like as you get closer to the sun.
Yeah.
It's too cold when you go further back. So it's like those conditions. If you're looking for something that's like humans, it's like very, very like remote possibilities.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they do discover like deep in space things, or planets that look really similar to Earth, like I think it was a couple of years ago, they found a planet, or there's like a solar system that had two suns, and there's like a planet that's very similar to Earth. And they everybody was like, oh wow, like this is probably a good place to look. Unfortunately it's like so far away that
we would just never get there.
It's just yeah. But just the fact that that's possible and that they found something that's kind of similar to us here. I always say you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so interesting that this like talk of like space and going to the moon and going to Mars is sort of picking up in recent years. We have SpaceX here in Southern California. Elon Musk is working hard to change the world. First with Tesla and his electric car.
I mean, a Tesla's already like a spaceship.
It looks like a spaceship, yeah.
Like, I think that's like the coolest car. Like, I want one so bad. Elon, if you're listening and you want to sponsor us.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
I need a
Sponsored
Tesla.
by Tesla. They have those charging ports everywhere now.
Yeah.
When you go to the mall, there's like
specifically
4
at
of
the
them.
mall near us, there's a whole row of like Tesla chargers that like you can just go and plug in your Tesla.
Yeah, that's so neat. So yeah, that's sort of like an exciting kind of development recently. And we'll see what happens with that. Supposedly Tesla is getting, or not Tesla, SpaceX and Elon Musk, they're planning to send someone to the moon pretty soon. And I think by 2020, they're going to send somebody into orbit. There was a Japanese billionaire who they announced recently is going to be one of the first people that's going to go up into space, but with a private company leading that. So I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I think we'll see if they actually make that deadline of 2020. My feeling is probably going to be maybe 21, 22, but it may take a few years for them to actually really get it right. But actually this past weekend, they launched a rocket and landed it in the same place, and everybody was going crazy about that because that had never been done before. So I mean, they're making progress really quickly, which is really exciting. But they're not the only one doing that. I know Virgin Galactic, or Virgin Atlantic, headed by Richard Branson. They're kind of one of the rivals in that. So they're working to try to get people up there as well. I know a ton of celebrities have already like put deposits down to go into space. So there's like a big list. I think they had to put down like several $1 million to save a seat. I think it was like Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, a couple other people have put their names down.
Can you imagine that flight though? Like with Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, like all these celebrities. I mean, are they all going to go together? Is that the plan?
I'm not sure. I think they're gonna try to send multiple people at once. I'm not sure if all those celebrities are going together, but like the Japanese billionaire for SpaceX, he put a deposit down for himself and like 5 other people, who are like less famous and less wealthy. But he's like, I want these people to go with me, so he paid for them. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see if like it's like a crew of celebrities. I feel like I don't know about, like, if I had the opportunity to do that, would I want celebrities on? I think that would be cool, but I think if something goes wrong, I'd rather have somebody
smart,
Bill Nye the Science Guy, or Neil deGrasse Tyson, like, because I feel like if you're in a jam, they can really help you out, and like they could probably figure it out how to fix it. But what's Justin Bieber gonna do? He's just gonna sing?
Yeah. I mean, at least the ride up would be interesting. Or like, I mean, he could play guitar, like with, JT. And your ride up would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. That to me is like, I don't know. Because I hate flying, first of all. Second of all, if your flight's boring, like, what are you going to do for, the hours that you're in the air? If you're going to space, it's going to be so long. You're going to need some sort of entertainment.
I don't know. I think just the fact that you're going up out of the Earth's orbit, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. And I think that that's kind of scary also. Like,
I would never do this.
But you would just be like chilling, reading a book, being like, I need something to pass the time.
Like, is there going to be seats? Like, I mean, you have to think about this whole thing. This
like
whole
on a
flight.
plane.
So, like, you're on Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic flight, sitting in between Justin Timberlake and the Japanese billionaire man. Like, okay, and say, like, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Say Bill Nye was in that flight, too. Like, so you're surrounded by these people.
So I'm in the middle seat because obviously the billionaire would pay for the window seat, though. He would probably want the window seat.
He'd probably be up front with the pilots or with the astronauts because clearly they're astronauts.
I don't know. Like, are there astronauts going on these? I'm not sure.
You would have to be. You'd have to be an astronaut. You'd have to drive this.
So there's a pilot.
Yeah.
Like a trained pilot flying.
Like, assuming that, like, this is
in the cockpit, and then.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have.
Is it like a rocket, or is it going to be like an airplane?
Like a shuttle, space shuttle.
It's going to be like a space shuttle. Okay, so.
There's probably I mean, like on a commercial flight, the pilots are up there by themselves.
Right.
Like, you can't sit up there.
Right. Yeah.
I think it would probably be similar to that because they don't want people messing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool if it's kind of like a plane, and you can just kind of look outside. Hopefully there's like a little bit better view on the sides, maybe, to kind of see everything.
Because you wouldn't want those little tiny airplane
Yeah, because you can't
windows.
really see those.
You can't enjoy space from a tiny window.
Yeah, you need like a full, like a glass panel.
Like a glass side on each side.
You know, like a Tesla has that glass thing in
We'll
the
see,
the front
that's
of it,
how
like,
SpaceX is going to be,
okay.
probably. It's probably going to be just one big Tesla in the sky. Which I think they already did. I think
Yeah.
they sent a Tesla.
They sent a Tesla into space.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. With, like, what, a mannequin? What was it? Like, isn't there, like, a mannequin sitting in it, driving it?
I'm not sure. It's on autopilot.
It's on autopilot?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I think, Elon Musk has had a lot of controversy just over the past, like, the summer, the past couple weeks, but he's been controversial ever since day one, since Tesla's day one, since SpaceX started. But I think he's doing some cool stuff, and I think he intentionally pushes the envelope a little bit. He's kind of like the eccentric billionaire, but I mean, I can think of a handful of much worse billionaires, not to name names or anything, but of the famous rich people that are out there, he's probably one of my favorites because at least he's trying to do something. He's pushing the envelope, but he's trying to progress, society, the world, he's got the electric car. He's got, commercial space flights. He's building a tunnel on the East Coast, and eventually they want to have a tunnel. Well, first there's a tunnel to make transit easier on the East Coast, and then eventually they're gonna have that connect to Los Angeles. So there's gonna be like I think it's called a hyperloop. So it's like super fast transportation between the coasts. And he's securing private funding for that.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. So he's doing a lot of cool stuff, and I think he's doing more than other people that I see that kind of have similar opportunities. But yeah, I think he's doing some interesting things, and it'll be fascinating to see how that turns out. Because I think one of the downsides to being an eccentric billionaire is that you can be your own worst enemy. If you say the wrong things, if you're too crazy, then you can kind of undermine your own work and your own success. But he's getting some publicity out of it. So we'll see how much of it is self-created and how much of it is just a product of him being him. But it wouldn't surprise me if by 2020, 2021, we start seeing that. Because I feel like that'll be a huge story, like the first one that goes up.
It'll just be everywhere. Everybody's going to know about it, so.
Yeah. They're hiring on...
I saw.
You saw that?
Yeah, I did.
We were looking at job postings on Indeed, and so Indeed is not a sponsor, but what they do is they have like job postings. You can look at who's hiring. You can post your resume, and we were looking the other day, and we saw SpaceX was hiring. They're in Hawthorne, California.
Yeah.
And which is not too far from here. And I'm like looking at the job descriptions, and some of those are like rocket scientist. And I'm like, I don't meet that criteria.
Like, none of these things, like, I mean, the first one, they need a security officer. So maybe that's something that, one of us can do.
Am I qualified for that? Probably not. I don't have any experience doing that. I feel like that would be a tough job, though, too. Like, if you think about it, like, people trying to, like, sneak into, like,
you just
Tesla and SpaceX.
No.
That's like guarding an airport or something, right? Like,
okay. It says that you need a high school diploma and 4 years of military policing or law enforcement.
Okay, yeah, I don't have that.
But that's like, they prefer somebody with a bachelor's degree and somebody who is like an EMT and like has they want you to work for 6 months on this security team for SpaceX.
Okay, so it's kind of like a project basis, like you're there for a little while.
Yeah, and then you're a security guard. Like,
but they've got some other cool jobs though too, right? Like it's like astrophysicist and like engineer and like a rocket fueling technician. So if you have any of those skills, definitely apply, because you never know.
Apply. I mean, they also need, like, they need a barista.
They do?
They need a barista.
Wow.
I wonder how much Elon would pay me to be... Can you imagine, like, I'm the barista on SpaceX?
Yeah.
Like, just a barista.
They would probably need one for that, right? Like, if it's like if you can walk around and, like, hang out there, they would probably want, like, a bartender, a cook.
They do need a cook. They need, like, basic stuff. Cook, a dishwasher, a dining room attendant.
But this is for their facility, like, not on the plane, or on the spaceship.
Oh, no, I would want to be the one on the plane. Even though I hate flying and I would never want to go into space. Like, if they chose me to be on the plane, I would do it.
Why not? I mean, that's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Just don't actually call me for it. Call me for the Tesla, just don't call me for the actual job, because I won't do it.
Okay, so we know that Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, some other celebrities have like put their deposits down to go to the moon and space, Mars probably, maybe. Who would be like your dream team of like your dream team of celebrities or people to be on that flight with you?
Oh my God. Let me think.
Because I feel like you need a good mix of like funny, smart, somebody that can help you out in a jam.
Mm-hmm. I think I
like,
would want smart people on this flight, but also somebody who's going to entertain me, somebody who's going to like, whatchamacallit, to calm my nerves, because again, like I don't like flying. Let's see. I don't know. Well, who would you want?
I think definitely Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I feel like he has a good like obviously like his knowledge about space is you know he's very knowledgeable about that subject, but he's also like entertaining to listen to. Like he's smart, but it's also like it's fun to listen to him. Like he's a very good like narrator and lecturer, and I feel like he would make it interesting and fun. But I also think you need some like comedic relief, and I think I would probably want some funny people up there. I think Conan. We were talking about Conan earlier. Yeah. Conan O'Brien would probably be. I would love to have him on my space team. Yeah, I think that would be cool. Although he's also very like oddly tall, so he may like if the seats are cramped or small, like if the cockpit is very small, true. He may not be comfortably seated there. John Mulaney, I love John Mulaney. Like he's so funny. If you haven't seen his stuff, he used to be a writer for The Simpsons. He was a writer on SNL. He had his own show. He has like Netflix specials. He does tours all the time. He's hilarious. He's also kind of like tall, lanky, but he's so funny. He's hilarious. He also has this really, his dog Petunia. It's a French bulldog, and he makes fun of this dog all the time. He loves his dog, but it's just like Petunia looks so grumpy every time they show like footage of her. I think she would be a good addition to with John Mulaney, but he has to bring the dog.
Yeah. I'd really want. I'd want Sarah Silverman.
Oh yeah, she would be good.
Sarah Silverman would keep me entertained just all day. Like, she could just say funny things. We can talk about how like her eyebrows are so perfect. She'll probably tell stories about like, because she has that show like I Love You America. So she'd probably talk about like all those families that she like talked to and like interviewed on the way. So she'd probably have some good stories.
Yeah. She's good. She's good at like observational humor. And I think that would be good for that environment too, because it's something new and like exciting. I mean, it's been done before, but never like on a commercial basis.
Right.
Like open to the public, and I think that would be great to kind of get somebody's take on that, and I think she'd be good for that. Plus, she's just hilarious. She's such a cool person.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good choice.
I would for sure probably...
I like how we're choosing comedians. Like
I know, because...
We have 3 comedians and 1 astrophysicist.
I was going to choose...
That sounds like a solid
I know, right?
lineup.
Yeah. And I'd probably, like, maybe... Oh my gosh, what is her name? Who's really smart. And she went to Harvard. Natalie Portman?
Oh yeah, Natalie Portman.
Maybe Natalie Portman because she's really smart.
It's a great actress.
Yeah.
And yeah, she is really smart. Harvard grad. Yeah, I think she's that's a good choice too.
Well, Conan went to Harvard, so he's really smart too.
Yeah.
So
he did.
Like, I'm sure he could figure something out. If something broke down, he could figure it out.
Yeah. I guess you have to be smart to go to space, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know.
Okay, so we have Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman.
Sarah Silverman. Conan
O'Brien.
Neil deGrasse Tyson. Trying to think. Somebody that's a good like narrator. And I'm thinking of
like Morgan Freeman. Like Morgan Freeman would be a good narrator.
Oh
for
my
space.
Gosh, that would be epic, right?
Yeah.
his voice and just
Mm-hmm.
narrating the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're filming footage about going to space, or like
Mm-hmm.
say you're on like Instagram or Snapchat and you're
Mm-hmm.
just like live streaming
And he's
and it's Morgan
and Morgan
Freeman.
Freeman's just narrating the whole process.
Yeah. Oh wow. That would be so epic.
How about somebody who played in a movie about space? Or like in an alien movie or something like that, just to complement it a little bit. Like,
Oh, Will Smith was in Independence Day.
Will
Yeah.
Smith. I was thinking maybe like Mark Hamill, because he's obviously Luke Skywalker.
Star Wars, yeah.
Or maybe even, what's his name? From, he was in Star Wars too, but like in the prequels. Liam Neeson?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, duh, Harrison Ford has to go to space.
I would have said, unfortunately, Carrie Fisher passed away, but I think she would have been a good choice also.
But Harrison Ford has to go to space. And there has to be some sort of like...
Yeah, like Indiana Jones. He was in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but he also almost died in a plane crash.
Oh, yeah, he
Like,
did.
I was
He
gonna
crashed,
say...
it was here in LA, right?
Okay, I don't know if Harrison Ford, like, is a stunt guy, or he just always has bad luck, where he's like... I think something happened to him on, like, Star Wars, where he shattered his leg, and had to be on, like, a little scooter. And then, like, he missed the runway at the Orange County Airport, and ended up... Where did he end up? Like, in a parking lot, or, like, the freeway? I don't remember what happened.
He crash landed somewhere, and he was hurt. I think he recovered, but it was pretty scary.
Or it was like a field or something like that.
Yeah, it was like in a field around here.
Yeah. And like something like, yeah, he broke something in there, but he was fine. But like,
yeah, that's pretty scary.
for somebody who drives the Millennium Falcon for a living, it's just...
See, he's used to driving in space, not in a little
I
commercial
know.
plane.
Yeah.
Okay, he can come, but as long as he's not piloting.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely a passenger on
Yeah.
this flight.
I'm trying to think who else might be good. We were talking about Captain Marvel in our last one, and I think Brie Larson, just the fact that she's training to be a space fighting superhero.
Oh, true, yeah.
And the first ever Marvel female lead. I think she should probably be on there as well. So we have a lot of like entertainment, comedy.
Would you want to send like a serious person up to space, like maybe
Like somebody that's just like
just straight face, like doesn't care about anything, or
for like just like so you can understand the gravity of like what you're about to do.
Yeah.
I don't know who would be a good choice for
I
that.
don't know. See, that's...
I can't think of anybody that fits that description, but I have two more actors that should go on this thing. So, have you seen Interstellar?
I haven't.
It's an epic space movie, and it got great reviews. Some people said it was a little bit too complicated. You probably need to watch it a few times to really like let it sink in. But Matthew McConaughey plays one of the pilots. Anne Hathaway plays one of the pilots for this galactic space mission to save the world. They have such a command of like if things go crazy, they handle it pretty well in the movie.
Yeah.
So I think he should go on there as well. Anne Hathaway as well.
Yeah, she should.
So we have a few thespians.
I do have a list of like people who are actually going to space, like they paid for it already.
Oh, you have some people. You
Yeah.
have the full list of people, right?
This is from I think this is a BuzzFeed article. It says the 12 celebrities who are actually going to space, and it also has like their rating of survival.
Like survivability, like
Yeah.
if shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
how they would handle it.
So like obviously they have Richard Branson, and they also have Leonardo DiCaprio. I forgot about him.
Oh, I think he did. Yeah, he made a deposit. Yeah.
Yeah, he made a deposit, and BuzzFeed's chance of survival for him is 10%.
Out of 100.
I think out of 100, yeah. Katy Perry and Russell Brand are going to space. Katy has a survival rate of 75, and Russell Brand has a survival rate of 22.
I'm not sure I would want to be
not
on their
anymore.
flight, but
I'd be I'd be okay with Russell.
He
Because
he's cool. I like him, but he is
yeah.
out there, and I'm not sure I would want him
Yeah.
on
It's because he
the
he
same
thinks
flight.
a lot about things. He's very like he thinks a lot, so he has a lot to say about other things.
Yeah.
So like
No, I like him, and I know
yeah.
he can be controversial, but I do like him, and I do like that he digs into deep topics sometimes.
He does.
Like space and technology
Mm-hmm.
and philosophy, religion. Um,
Yeah, I think he would be an interesting like person to sit next to on that flight.
yeah,
Like he would just have a lot to say, and then the flight would go quickly.
yeah, but I think that's
So
a little bit high for him because he is a little bit of a wild card,
yeah,
and just like the volatility with like him and Katy Perry together. I don't know if
yeah.
I would really want
She
to be a
can sit
part of
next to
that.
Beeper.
Okay.
Like they'll have something interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
But his BuzzFeed rating right now is 16% survival.
Oh, his?
Yeah. His,
Oh, okay. I thought it
yeah.
was higher. Oh, yeah. That seems about right.
I didn't know that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are going to space.
That could be awkward.
I know, right? Aren't they divorced too?
Yeah.
They just got divorced. But it says that their combined survival rate is 100%.
Okay.
But I don't. All right, great.
50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if they both went up, one would come back. I feel like that has nothing to do with space, but just like their relationship.
Which one do you think would come back? Angelina?
Yeah.
Brad Pitt would just
Yeah.
float along in.
I don't know, because he's like a humanitarian and like,
Well, so is she.
they both are, but I feel like he would just be like, okay, you win.
Like, I'm just going to go float off over here.
Yeah. I think he would be
Wow.
totally okay with that.
I didn't know that Ashton Kutcher is going to space.
Steve Jobs. And also, you know, that 70s show. I feel like that's a good
Oh,
combo
he did
for
play
him.
Steve Jobs, huh?
Yeah, he was in that movie about Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I feel like I think that's appropriate for him because he's got like that 70s vibe, like the goofy, but also I can see like the serious like space side of him,
Yeah.
the tech side.
Let's see what else. Tom Hanks.
Wasn't he in
Apollo 13?
Apollo 13? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, okay, he's familiar with space then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tom Hanks. I didn't know that. Princess Beatrice. Do you know who Princess Beatrice is?
You know, there's so many royals now, and there's just more every year. I don't know who that is.
She is, I believe, don't quote me, Princess Fergie? Or the Duchess of York is
Fergie.
Ferguson, Sarah Ferguson. I think that's her. So I think it's her daughter.
Oh,
Or
okay.
one of her daughters. The ones with the crazy hats every time like a royal event happens. Like
They
you have
all
to wear like a hat.
They all have crazy hats.
Okay, like the most famous ones with the crazy hats. She's the ginger one.
Yeah,
Like-
I'm not too familiar, but I mean that's cool. A royal is going up.
Yeah. Paris Hilton is going up. And it says 2 celebrities who did not have to pay for their ticket, but were gifted. Stephen Hawking was supposed to go to space.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah, he would have been great to have, like as a co-pilot or like somebody there.
right? Like he would know what was going on.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
yeah. Okay, this is a weird story. Kate Winslet is supposed to go to space because Branson gifted it to her because she saved his mom from a fire in 2011. So she
Wow.
gets a free ticket to space.
But she may not use it, but it's there for her if she wants to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I didn't know
So-
that about her.
I
She's a
didn't know that
hero.
either. I'm like, okay.
So that would be she would be good to have. She's heroic.
Yeah.
Like she's good in tough situations in danger.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are the people who are going to space or who would have gone to space.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, like that list, it's interesting because it's not like there wasn't anybody on that list that I was like, oh, whoa, like that's surprising. You know, it was just like, okay, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a logic to it.
Yeah. And then also clearly some of these people are just going because they have money.
Right.
Like, I mean, Katy Perry, what's her business going up to space?
Should
Other
have
than just
that
to
fireworks song.
other than just to take a selfie like next to, a rocket or like a something like a galaxy background. Like
I feel like another, and I just thought of this right now, another good celebrity that would be good for this trip would be Ellen.
oh, okay. Yeah, I can see
Because
that.
Ellen, just like her personality is just like so magnetic,
Yeah, she would be so excited to go.
and she's popular with everybody. Like she would bring everybody
Yeah.
together.
What about Oprah?
Yeah, I think she would be great. Yeah, because I think like when, at the height of her show and like all the way up until the end, just like she had a good way of handling like drama and I think on a trip like this with all these celebrities, you kind of need somebody to like be to handle everybody like that.
Yeah, I think so. She'd bring a little bit of like spiritual
Yeah,
guidance
yeah,
to the flight as well. I think you need that.
for sure.
Um,
We have our list, our dream team, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple of years. It'll be exciting to see that first one. SpaceX, they're going to be launching their flights from this area, so that'll be cool. I wonder if we can go watch like the first one.
oh, that'd be great.
I'm
That'd be
sure
amazing.
they're going to have like
Yeah.
you can go to the SpaceX base or wherever. I think
It says Hawthorne.
Hawthorne,
So, like,
California.
that's probably where they're gonna take off from. So the
Yeah.
surrounding areas would probably have like a good seat. You know.
Yeah, that'll be
Well,
really cool.
hopefully, when this takes off, like everybody goes up safely and comes back, because that would be so awful if like something happened and it like blew up or like
Yeah, that would be terrible.
caught fire, or that would be like the scariest thing ever to see.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because if this turns out successful and it's something that people do all the time, like it has to be safe and a big tragic incident like that could really sour people on doing that. Because it's expensive. It's this huge undertaking. It's taking years to develop and get everything prepared. And then, if there's like the first or second one and it just is a tragedy like that, I think.
I'm sure that they'll have like a bunch of like practice trials.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what they're
heading up
doing
to
now.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're testing. They're testing and preparing, just like rockets, to see if they can do that successfully. And that's why it was so huge this week, or last week, when they sent up a rocket and it came back down and it landed right where it took off. Like just the fact that they can control that technology in such a way where they had never done that before. And so that's pretty amazing that they were able to do that. And so I think the hope is that it's going to get to a point where they can do a full mission and it comes back right where they want it to. And I think once they're able to do that, like I think that would be, it'll help people make it feel safe.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you're afraid of flying, but people say that flying is so much safer than even like driving a car. And it's just something we don't think about. And I think because it is kind of scary. You're up there in this big metal box flying in the sky, and you look out the window and it's just like air, and you're like thousands of feet up.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have it now where it's so safe and repeatable and very few incidents happen. Maybe a few a year where something happens to a plane, but for the most part they're pretty safe.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing people don't think about a lot is that that's so much safer than driving a car. But if they can get it to that level of safety, I think that'll be huge.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the Google Maps for UFOs.
Google Maps.
We talked about the next couple of years in terms of space and travel. And then maybe just try to wrap things up a little bit. Just like favorite space movies or alien movies. I know there's quite a few out there, but you know, if we have any of those.
I really like E.T. Like, I mean,
E.T.
there's a lot of people who don't like E.T. just based on...
Who doesn't like E.T.?
I think it's... One of my friends doesn't like E.T.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because the alien, because E.T. himself... E.T. is so cute. How could you not like E.T.? Yeah, he can fly, he can heal you. Like, what's not to like about E.T.?
Yeah. I think of like Independence Day for some reason. Because I think that one was just such a like epic movie when it first came out, and
it had a good cast. It was action packed. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah, that scene with when they're in that like room with was it President Bill Pullman?
Yes, with the president and with the guy in charge of Area 51. Oh, that's what we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about Area 51. Do you believe that Area 51 is a real place? Or if it is a real place, do you believe that that's what the government is keeping alien secrets?
I remember reading about it as a kid and how that was just like this huge moment where people really started to like get into those conspiracy theories about UFOs. I'm not sure if there's actually something there or if there's still, discoveries that happened there at that site. I mean, I totally believe that it's possible, there's like a military base or outpost there maybe. I think that's probably likely. But I think just in general, I totally think that we don't know everything or the government doesn't share everything with us. I think that's just a fact because it's not just in terms of like aliens or UFOs, but, the government has a lot of like classified information and some of it's just like mundane, nothing too interesting, but sometimes there's some interesting things out there. So I totally think we don't know everything and we're not privy to all that information. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. Again, I think, who knows? But I think, a lot of people did, like, that was their first interaction with, okay, like, it's possible something crashed and, like, people saw things. Maybe the government came in and was, like, concerned that people would get scared or, was trying to analyze it or research it. I think that's totally possible, and a lot of people believe that. But, yeah, I don't think it was anything like in that movie. Like in Independence Day, they go to that Area 51 and they discover, an alien body, and then they look at it and then it attacks them. I don't think that happened or anything like that happened, but it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was. That alien was huge, though. I mean, like, the way that they portrayed the aliens in that film, they're huge.
Yeah, and wasn't it like it was like a big, huge like suit, and then it was like the alien was inside?
Yeah, so it was like a huge. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like a squid.
Yeah, like something. A squid type of a thing.
Yeah, where it was just like a big. I don't even know if it was like a hard armor, but it was definitely like a tough skin.
Yeah, it was like bulletproof, right? They would shoot at it and it wouldn't really do anything to them.
Yeah, like everything that like they like threw at him just couldn't get through. Like not even like the spaceship. Like the spaceship had like a force field around it. Like, and they were just like super controlling. So it was like interesting how they portrayed their aliens in that movie. I mean,
yeah, I think that gets to like some of the fears that people have about aliens and like why they're so scary to people. Obviously people have like reported abduction experiences which are very terrifying and invasive and they're just horrific to read. But just in general, I think what makes them scary is that the idea that they have this technology that's so advanced that we're not ready for it. Like in that movie, yeah, they like have these like bulletproof suits. Their ships are like resistant to like our technology. Like I think they had to have like hackers like upload a virus or something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Just the idea that they are so advanced and more advanced than we are, and it's sort of like we're at their mercy, like if they're gonna look kindly on us. Because if you look at like human history, advanced civilizations or people that have, technology that's more sophisticated, they'll abuse it and they'll hurt people that have been less fortunate in that regard. So I think that totally gets to that fear about UFOs. But yeah, I think that was an interesting portrayal, and it did like really capture that that issue and that dynamic about like if we do encounter something, what that would look like. I think that's one of the big fears about aliens and why they're so scary. One more movie that I thought was really interesting. Did you see the movie Signs?
I did see the movie Signs, yes.
With Mel Gibson and...
yeah.
What I thought was interesting about that was how the whole time, because you don't really see anything, and then at the end you do kind of see what they look like. But just like that whole anticipation and build up, and you're wondering, like, are the kids making it up? I think you're just like the idea that you're like second guessing yourself. And you don't really believe it. And then all of a sudden there's just like that final confrontation. And was it the water? It was like water that killed them, right?
I think so, yeah.
And yeah, I think it was just that movie was almost like more like there's like a philosophy behind it, right? The idea that something so simple and plentiful here was like their weakness. And it was the kids that discovered that.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting movie. It's one of those areas where you can use your imagination, and any and every type of description and, artistic rendering has been used. But they've all looked kind of different. Like E.T. doesn't look like, like a typical alien that you would kind of picture. Like when I think of an alien, I think of like green or
like
gray,
the green,
the big eyes and the
big head.
Yeah.
I
think that's like the like.
That's like the 90s stereotypical alien. The fashion alien.
Right, like the little green head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think of aliens, that's what I think of. But like E.T. doesn't look like that. And I think it's interesting that this is sort of like in the ether right now. Like I see people with like NASA t-shirts everywhere.
Oh yes, my favorite singer always wears a NASA shirt, and he's like so obsessed with NASA. Like, it's amazing. He loves NASA.
I was gonna say also, now that you mentioned the NASA shirt, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 is a big like alien person, like way into aliens. And he's kind of out there now. Like,
really?
Yeah. And he has several books about his ideas and encounters and stories, and apparently is like doing research, and he claims to have like inside information, like secret government information about
no, he doesn't.
aliens and UFOs and that technology. Yeah, he's like really into it. And I don't know how much I believe about what he says. Some of his claims are pretty
where does he
pretty out there.
Does he have like a show or a podcast or something that we can like listen to?
He's done a few interviews with like Joe Rogan, a few others. You can find him online.
Okay.
And
because I need to hear this for myself.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to talk to him for sure. So yeah, if I had to assemble my team, I think I would reserve a seat for him. But I would be skeptical about some of the stuff that he says. I'd be politely skeptical. I do want to read his books. I know he has a few books out, and but yeah, he's pretty into that stuff as well.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
The more you know.
For sure.
Well, if you're gonna take Tom DeLonge, I'm gonna take Dan Smith from Bastille, because he's obsessed with NASA.
You're a big Bastille
I'm
fan.
a big Bastille fan. He's like,
I like their music a lot.
Yeah, he's like my number one, like, marry me, Dan, I love you. Yeah, but he really is into NASA. And like I think they visited. I think the band went to like JPL, and I think for
That's in Pasadena,
in
right?
Pasadena, and the other one that's in Florida. I think they went there too. I think they went to both. Was the one in Florida? They always do the launches
There's
from there.
Cape
I
Canaveral.
think they went to Cape Canaveral, and I think they got like tours and stuff like that. So ever since then, just obsessed with it. Like he had a post the other day, "Happy birthday, NASA!"
Wow.
Like you know, so I would take him because I mean, he probably would love to go to space. Like that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um, yeah, that's so cool whenever I hear about, celebrities in particular, but just like anybody that takes an interest in space and, technology and flight, because it really is a cool subject to kind of
mm-hmm.
study. And now that it's sort of picking up again and people are talking about it, I think it's just a good thing. Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember when like they shut down NASA, there was like no more public funding for it. I think a lot of people were surprised
Yeah,
and disappointed, because when NASA started, the whole space race with, trying to get to the moon, um, is very much about like the U.S., seeking and striving to be the best in that
mm-hmm.
regard. Um, and then they reached the moon, and then it kind of just like, you know, it didn't take as top priority
Yeah,
as it was. I think there was just sort of this sense of like, okay, we accomplished this thing, and that was sort of like that's good enough.
mm-hmm.
And then they kind of did research, and they said satellites, and they do some sort of, there were some developments, but it really hasn't been that big. And now that's sort of picking up again, and this time with like private companies and like commercial flights. I don't think it's accessible yet to like the everyday person,
Mm-hmm.
but the fact that people are interested in it, hopefully the more they do it, the price of, potentially going to the moon or
Mm-hmm.
even just out of orbit, um, I'd imagine the more that they do it, the price would come down a little bit, and maybe
Yeah,
maybe it would be available for, you know, the regular wealthy people.
yeah,
But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm really
mm-hmm.
excited. But yeah, any like final thoughts as we kind of wrap things up for today's topic?
What does that eventually mean for us? Like, you know, could we ever live somewhere else other than Earth? Like, you always wonder and think, you know.
Right. Yeah, I think just sort of like some parting thoughts. I think that's great that you bring up like what does that mean for us, because I
Mm-hmm.
think one thing that whenever I think about space and how just like how big it is and how vast it is, it kind of takes you out of like, you know, your daily worries or like things that are happening in your life that you think are kind of good, bad. Um, we get so wrapped up with things that are going on here, and then
Mm-hmm.
when you think about, the Earth, the solar system, galaxy, the whole universe, um, it kind of makes it you know, seem a little bit smaller and more, manageable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that we've only scratched the surface on what we've experienced in the universe
Mm-hmm.
is so cool. But yeah, that's just sort of my take on that.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And, if you have any thoughts about what we talked about today, aliens, UFOs, have you seen anything? Have you checked out that Google Maps for UFOs? That's available on MUFON's website. So that's MUFON. And you can just Google them and bring up their website, and you'll be able to see that. Type in your address, your city, and see what's in your area. And also, reach out to us on social media, leave us an email.
Who would you want to be or sitting next to on your flight? Would you want to go on this flight?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about our dream team.
Mm-hmm.
What's sort of your dream team of, maybe 5 or 6, people that you wouldn't mind sitting next to on a big, long flight like that? Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.